Okay, Tov. Today's daf is daf Tzadik Ches. In Sanahdrin, we learned for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael and soon about Sarva Shivya. Says the Gemara about the 10th line down, 9th to 10th line. Amar of Abba, Amar of Abba, Ein Lecha Kates Megula. There is no ending, meaning the time of Mashiach, which is more revealed. Mizeh Shenem Bata Hare Yisrael or Harim Yisrael and Afchem. Bring up your branches. In other words, make your branches grow. My Gemara, that the word says hare, but there must be a letter missing there. Vatem hare must be harim Yisrael and afchem titnu. Your branches should grow. Prechem tisu la'am Yisrael, and your fruits will grow. Will carry from Yisrael, meaning there will be a good time there. You will now rise up and. Let's see if Rashi helps us here. No, there's no Rashi on this. Okay, it says there that things will grow and you'll have plenty. That will be the good time when Mashiach will arrive. But of course, before Mashiach comes, will be the time of trouble. Rabbi Lazar Omer, Af Mizeh, from this pasuk also Shneimar Ki Lifnei Hayomim or Lifnei Hayom Elohim Schar Adam Lo Niya. There won't be any. Payment, any minimum salary. The salaries will not be there, meaning there'll be no work. There won't be any hire for animals, meaning there won't be any work. Everything will be fallow. There won't be the economy will be gone. There'll be nothing. And there won't be any peace for those who go out and come in. From the troubles. What does it mean for those who go out and come in? Ain't shalom. There'll be no peace for them. From the trouble. Even the pasuk says about them shalom, that they will have peace. Shalom rav la'oves or asachav ein lamo mirshol. Right? Shalom rav zacha. Even for the Talmud who says they will have much peace and tranquility to those who love the Torah, ein shalom. Even for them, ein shalom mitzvah, because of the troubles, the suffering that will take place. So Shmuel Amar ad sheyu kol hasharim kulan shkulam, until all the markets will be even, meaning everything will cost the same. There won't be any money to buy anything with anyway, and everything will be exactly the same. Rashi says, grain and wine, everything will be the same, because there'll be, one shot is that there'll be so much that everybody will have everything, and everything will be very expensive. Nobody will have money to buy anything with. So again, we're describing here the Moshe Mashiach. When Mashiach will come, he'll bring good things, but before he comes, things will be bad. The Mashiach will not come again. We call him Mashiach ben David, from the descendants of David HaMelech, will not come until they will look for a piece of fish for a sick person. Now, forget about meat. They won't even have fish, and even fish they won't find. Then I will sink down their waters, unarosam, and their rivers kishemen olech. I will drive them I will make them go like oil, meaning they'll be slimy, and even fish won't be able to live there. Fish can't live in oil; they need water. Then I will grow the corn of Beis Yisrael, meaning then when things are so bad, then I will bring Mashiach. Until the low down kingdom, the kingdom that's evil, will be consumed, will be finished. In Emar, v'koras hazalzalim b'mazmeros. I will cut them down with pruning forks or hooks. Yuval shai l'Hashem. So then a gift will be given to Hashem's Vakos, am memashach marat, a nation which is scattered and hairless, nation which is very in bad shape because of the Chavlei Mashiach, the troubles that precede Mashiach. Hashem will then heal them, and he will make Yisrael rise again. So again, we have all these hints as when Mashiach will come. Mashiach will not come until this is gone, until that's gone, until this happens. All these different opinions here. Maybe the multitude of opinions is to cloud the issue. So again, like we saw yesterday, we're supposed to hope for Mashiach every day, but we shouldn't calculate when we expect him to come, because that will just lead to depression. So until the arrogant people will be gone from Bnei Yisrael, Shneimar, because then I will remove from you the ones who rejoice in your pride, in your arrogance. And I will leave among you Ani Vidol, a nation who is poor and low down, and they'll take refuge in the name of God. Until the bad judges and police will be gone, and I will return my hand upon you, and I will purge your impurities like with soap, with lye. Sigayach is your impurities, your dross. Interesting, Rashi says, Kamo Rav, the Martegmin and Sagi, like your many impurities, I will purify you from them. Then I will return your I will return the proper judges. In other words, Mashiach, that's speaking about in the future. That devil will not come until the bad shoftim and shotrim will be gone. Rashi here jumps around a little bit because the Lashon, he quotes the same pasuk several times. So Amar Ola, in the last of the narrow lines in the Gemara, Amar Ola, Ein Yerushalayim Niftas, Yerushalayim will not be redeemed, Ela b'tzedakah, only through righteousness. Shenemar Tzion b'mishpat tipada, Tzion in judgment will be redeemed. V'shaveh b'tzedakah, and those who return it will with righteousness. In other words, when there's righteousness and proper judgment, then Yerushalayim will be redeemed. Amar Papa, Ibatli Yahiri Bat Amgushi. If we if we get rid of the arrogant people in Israel, then Bat Amgushi. Amgushi are translated as the Magi. These were Goyish magicians who really worshipped, who did Avodah Zarah and used that against the Jewish people. So Amgushi Rashi says, Habdelim Miras Hamakom. They're separate. They don't fear God at all. So if we get rid of the arrogant people among the Jews, then the Goyish counter people will also be rid of. The way to get rid of the Amgushi is to get rid of the arrogance among us. Ibati Dayane, if we get rid of the bad judges, then Batli Gezirfti. Gezirfti, Rashi says, is also a lashon of here. In other words, the bad judges. If we get rid of our bad judges, Hashem will get rid of theirs. The first one we know. If we get rid of our arrogant ones, we'll get rid of the Amgushi. The plus we quoted before. I will purge your impurities like with soap. The asira and I will move all your tin, meaning all your bad elements. The Batli Dayani, but if we get rid of the bad judges, we'll get rid of the Gzirfti, which are the Goyish judges. Hashem took away your judgment, meaning the bad judgment, and he has tossed away your enemies. If you see a generation which is getting worse and worse, right? It's getting lower and lower in terms of Talmidei Chachamim. Chakela, wait for the Mashiach. That's the time when Mashiach has come. Shenemar, Ves'am Oni Toshia. The poor nation you will save. So if you see things are getting bad, people are poor, both monetarily, in Torah, etc., time to wait for Mashiach. If you see a generation that has many troubles happen upon it, kinahar, like a river flowing with troubles, Chakelo, wait for it. Mashiach Shenemar Kiyavo Kinar Tsar Ruach Hashem Ruach Hashem Nosabo. When it'll come like a river, like a narrow river, Ruach Hashem, the Spirit of God will drive it. The Samach Land says afterwards, Baltzian go. In other words, when things are bad, the Tsaros will come. Kinevar card sorrow. Maybe Tsar here means Tsaros will come. Not Tsar means not as narrow, but rather when troubles will come like a river, then the Spirit of Hashem is driving it. That's the driving force here. You should know afterwards of Baltzi and Goel, the Mashiach will come. The Ben David Mashiach will only come in a generation which is either all meritorious or all they're all bad. They're all liable. It's the famous pasuk that we start with that what that your nation is all tzaddikim lo miyasharetz. That was the beginning of the parak that said that's why we all have a share in olam haba. Your nation is all tzaddikim; they will forever inherit the land. Saw there was no man by Ishtomim, and he was astonished. There's nobody defending it. There's nobody to intercede on there. There's nobody good there. Except Lamani, yes, I will do it for myself. In other words, even if the Jewish people are not worthy, like we saw before, Mashiach will either come when we're all worthy, or when we're not worthy, Hashem will still bring it anyway. Here's a source that we mentioned yesterday. Rav Shimon Levi Rami asked the following stira, the following contradiction. It says, Be'ita, that Mashiach will come in its time. I will hasten it. Zachu Achishin, if they merit it, I will hurry it up. I will hasten it. Lo Zachu, if they don't merit it, then Bita, I will bring it in its time anyway. And there's a certain time Mashiach has to come by a certain time. We could either bring it by being good in advance, we can hasten it, or we could just leave it be and it'll come anyway. He asked the following steer. Ba'aru am anei shmaya kabar inish asa, and he will come flying, kabar inish, like a man will come flying on the clouds, right? Ba'aru ananei shamaya, with the clouds of the sky, he's going to come. Asa, he will come. B'ksiv ani v'rochev al chamor, a poor man riding on a donkey. So how is Mashiach going to come? Is he going to come, like, so to speak, flying on a magic carpet with great fanfare, or is he going to come riding on a donkey? Zachu, if they merit it, Iman Shema, he's going to come with the clouds of the heavens. Lo Zachu, if he doesn't merit it, Ani Rocheb Al Chamor, he'll come poor, like a poor person riding on a donkey. Amalei Shmuel Malka Shmuel. Shmuel Malka was a friend. He was a king. Gersha king was a friend of Shmuel. They would always discuss things. He was quite learned. He said to Shmuel, Amriso, you say Mashiach al-Chamor. So I heard you say that your Mashiach is coming on a donkey. Ishtale Susi, I tell you what, it's just say Barka or Bidka. I'll tell you what, I'll be nice to you. I'll send you a good horse, either a horse that runs fast, Isli. I'll send you one of my good horses. What do you have to come riding on a donkey? I'll send you a good horse. And Rashi says that Suse Barka is like a colored horse. It's got colors. It looks very nice. It's embarrassing for your savior to come on a donkey. It was like laughing at him. I'll tell you what, I'll send him a nice looking horse. It's got different colors. Do you have one that's got 100 colors? Rashi says chiver is a Persian word for 100. Do you have one with 100? In other words, like as if to say, you can't, yours isn't so good either. Like he laughed back at him. Shimon Levi found Elio. That became a Pischa de Marsi. He found him standing at the door or at the opening of the cave of Shimon ben Yochai up in Miron. Amalei Asin Eliam the Asi. He asked him, you think I will get a share in the next world? Amalei Emirtza Adonazeh. If this master would like it. Amr Shimon Levi said, Shnaim Risi. There were two people that I saw. The Kol Gimel Shamati, and I heard the voice of a third. Meaning, Adonai said, the Shechina was standing there too. I heard the voice of them. In other words, there were two of us, but I heard also the Shechina talking. So he's like saying that if this master will want it, you'll come. Amalei Amos Asi Mashiach. When will Mashiach come? Amalei Zil Shaile Lidide. Go ask him. Ask him Mashiach. You can go ask him. Hechiyas, where is he? Apiska Karsa, at the door, at the gate of the city. Which city is he talking about? So he says, near Lopez Mamish El Gan Eden, who Keneged Olam, Rashi says, that said Gan Eden, that's where he is. Okay, he's there. Now, some say Pesach, the Karta Rome, at the door of Rome, right? That's what the little aleph refers to. That he was at the door of Rome. The Rome, it's Rome. The door. He was at the gate of Rome. And some say Rashi brings down that it's that it was the Pesach here, but at the opening of Gan Eden. Anyway, so he asked him. This is again, this is Rabbi Shimon Levi asked Elio when Mashiach come. He says, go ask him yourself. So he found, where is he? He told him he's at this place, at this gate, or this opening. My simne, How can you tell who he is? You know, he doesn't have a name tag. Says Yosef Beni Aniyeh, he's sitting among the poor people, Sovlech Olam, who are suffering from terrible wounds. They're, you know, blood is flowing, and they have all these kinds of what they do is, these poor people, they have many wounds and they're all bandaged up. And what they would do is every day at a certain time, they would take off all the bandages and, you know, and dress the wound again, put new bandages on. So if a guy had, let's say, 20 bandages on him, he would take them all off, dress them. Sure, he put on a very, you know, antibiotic ointment or something, and then he put the bandages back on them. He didn't do them all at one shot. He would take off one bandage and then put it back on. He would open one, put it on. Why? Omar says, maybe I'll be called to redeem the Jewish people. Delo Yaakov, I don't want to be held back. In other words, I don't want to do all at one time, because if I take them all off at one time, it'll take me a long time. It'll take me an hour to rebandage them, and I might be needed. I want to be ready. You know, like they'll call me on my cell phone. I got to run right away. So he went, Shimon Levi went to the Mashiach. He found him. That was his identity. You could tell, because he would only take off and redress one bandage at a time. Amalei Shalom Alecha Rebbe Umari. So he said, peace to you, my Rebbe, my teacher. Amalei Shalom Alecha Bar Levi. He said, peace to you, son of Levi. That's what Shimon Levi called him Levi. Amalei Lemasasi. When are you coming? Lemasasi, when are you coming? When are you coming? Amalei Hayom, today. Coming today. So then, so Shimon Levi returned to Eliyahu. I guess he went back to Miron. Amalei, Mayam Lecha. What did the Mashiach tell you? Amalei Shalom Alecha Bar Levi. That's what he said. He greeted me. Peace be to you, son of Levi. Amalei, Iftachacha Lecha Ulavucha L'Almadasi. He has promised you a share for you and your father in the next world by calling you son of Levi. That was a nice way of addressing you, to show that both you and your father will have a share in the next world.
Why was Yoshua ben Levi in doubt when we begin the parak that says Kol Yisrael?
Yeah, in doubt. No, he asked him, when is he coming? That we've explained already, that you can lose your share. You know, everybody has a share.
Yoshua ben Levi.
Yeah, well, he wanted to know. He wanted to know. So we'll see. All these things people say everybody has a share. The Gemara is going to deal on Amid Beis. You'll see an answer to your question on Amid Beis. Even if it's not Rav Shapiro, it's the same idea. Everybody has a share, but nobody's guaranteed because of their actions. Also, I'm going to say, he can't return to him. So he told him, okay, you'll have a share in the next world. But he lied to me. Shimon Levi said to Eliyahu Navi that the Mashiach lied to me. The Omerli said, Hayom Asin, I'm coming today, but obviously he hasn't come. In other words, assuming Rabbi Shimon Levi did not have Kvitza Saderach, from the time it took him to go from Mashiach, from talking to the Mashiach back to Eliyahu Navi, at least a day had passed, and he hasn't come. That's what he meant to say. Hayom, he'll come today in B'kol Tishmo, if the Jewish people listen to God. But obviously, they don't listen to God, he's not coming right. In other words, the point of all this is that we are now in Yemos HaMashiach after the year 4000, like we saw yesterday. Certainly, according to the Chavetz Chaim, we're in Ikvis and Mashiach now in our current time. It's up to us, it could come at any time. Shalatam and Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma. They asked for Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma. When will he come? Amalei, Misyariani, I will tell you, but I'm afraid if I tell you, Shema Tavak Shemenos, you'll want a sign for me, as if to say that I know what I'm talking about. Amulo, Ein Anavak Shem Chalos. We won't ask you a sign. Just tell us, when is he coming? Amalei, L'kshayipol Ashar Hazeh, when this gate will fall down, and it'll be rebuilt. V'yipol will fall down again. V'yivna will be rebuilt. V'yipol then will fall down. They must speak and live no say. They don't get a share. They don't get a chance to rebuild it a third time. Then Acher ben he will come. In other words, that's when he's going to come. When this gate will be down for the third time and not be brought up again, not be built up again. Acher ben Amulo Rabbeinu 10 letters. Give us a sign that you know what you're talking about. Amalahem. You told me, you promised me that if I would tell you when he's coming, you won't ask me for a sign. That's the Jewish way to say it, Anyway, tell me, what it is, I once had a legal case, and I was clearly in the right, and I was arguing against the other person's lawyer. And I didn't even have a lawyer, and I was obviously right, and the judge saw that I was right. Judge was an Arab. He saw that I was right, and the and the other attorney's argument was Aval B'cholzot. That was his argument. Aval B'cholzot. Give it anyway. Give it anyway. What is it? Kind of an argument is that? So I say Aval Piken. Okay, I'll tell you a sign. Im kach yafku me ma'aras pamayis ladam. Im kach. If that's what you want, I'll tell you. Yefach me ma'aras pamayis ladam. Pamayis is in the north, in the Golan. That's like the Banyas. Banyas, Pamayis is the same thing. Yefchu Bemas, when the waters of the cave of the Banyas, where that's the source of the Jordan River, right? If it turns to blood, then you'll know that I'm right. V'nefchu l'dam, and it turned to dam. In other words, it showed that he was right. So when the gate will turn for the third time, all these things are hard to understand. So. Why don't you just, when the Roman gate, the gate of the city of Rome, when it'll fall down and be rebuilt, fall down, rebuilt, and they won't get a chance to build it a third time. Well, where is that gate? Do we know where the gate is? All right. B'shas Peturaso, when this Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma died, Omelem, he said, Hamikuli, Aroni, please dig a deep pit, grave for my coffin, make it very deep. Why? Because he's saying they were predicting here that Persians will eventually take over the Romans, whatever. They're going to fight against us, and there'll be no palm tree in Bavel that they won't have a Persian horse attached to, meaning they'll be all over the place. What they would do is they would attach the horses to the Jewish graves, with their coffins, and use the horses to take them right out of the ground, and then use the coffins as troughs for their horses to eat from. So of the Medes, whoever they are today, when the Persians will be all over the place, and the people from Madai, the Medes, will be taking all our coffins out and eat, and having their animals eat from them. So he's telling you this will be in the future when the bad things will happen. So he's saying that make sure my coffin is deep down in the ground, so it'll be hard for them to get to. Amarav Ein Ben David Bo until the evil kingdom will rule over Israel Tisha Chadashim for 9 months first. The first rule is 9 months. Shneimar L'chein Yitnam Ad Eis Yoleda. They'll put them on you until a time that a woman giving birth will give birth. What does that mean? 9 months. The Yeser Echav Yoshuv Israel, and then the rest of the Jewish people will return from Golus, etc., to Eretz Yisrael after this time. Amar Ula Yesei B'lachminis. This is a famous line. Let the Mashiach come, but I don't want to see him. Meaning, I don't want to be at that time because of the Chel Mashiach. V'chein Amar Rabba Yesei, let him come, but I don't want to see it. I don't want to be alive at the time when Mashiach comes. Rabbi Yossi Omer Yesei v'Askei, I want him to come, and I will be Zocha Halavai De'esa Betul Dechafisa Dechamrei. And I hope that I will be able to sit. I'll be able to be there when it happens, and I will sit in the shadow of the dung of his donkey. I want to sit there. I want to be there. Amalei Abaya L'Rabba. My time. Why do you say you don't want to be there? Because of the pains, right? The troubles. The Chevle Mashiach. It's compared to the suffering, the birth pangs of a woman. If it's because of the birth pangs, in other words, what's the idea of the suffering of a woman? When a woman suffers in childbirth, she's in terrible pain. But then when the baby comes out, then she goes from pain to joy. So same thing here. Mashiach will come. It's called the Chevle Mashiach. There'll be trouble. There'll be pangs when Mashiach is about to come. But then when Mashiach comes, everything will be bright again. If it's because you don't want to be around Mashiach, what should a person do to be saved from the pains of Mashiach, from the birth pangs of Mashiach? He should occupy himself with Torah and good deeds. Remember, Rabbah and Abai were both from the house of Eli. They weren't supposed to live long because of the curse of Eli, and they're supposed to die young. And then he said, what did it say? Abai lived till 40, or till 40. The other one, and Rabbah lived till 60, or Rabbah lived till 60 because of he had Torah and Gemilas Chasadim. Abai was Osik in Torah. He lived till 40. and Rabbah lived till 60 because of Torah Sodom. I think I'm not mixing up Rabbah and Rabbah, but if I'm not, that's the pshat over here that Rabbah had. So you have the different gears here too, Rabbah and Rabbah, but Rabbah had both Torah and Sodom, so he was over those things, so he won't suffer. Amalei Shema Yigur Mached. Maybe the sin, yes, I was zocher to that. I did have Torah and Sodom. In other words, if you just look at it based on that, so I shouldn't suffer. But maybe there's some sin that I did that'll cause it. Could Rav Yaakov Bar Idi, like Rav Yaakov Idi, Rami says Ksiv. He's talking about Yaakov Avinu. This way it says, Hashem promised Yaakov, I will be with you and I will guard you wherever you go. Ksiv, Yaakov, he was very afraid and he was troubled, he was distressed. Maybe this answers your question, Michael, because in other words, he did everything right.
This isn't talking about Olam Haba. This is
but
about something in this life.
But the same thing applies. In other words, maybe you lose a share because of that. You're right. Maybe here he's talking about there, but it's the same idea, right? Same idea. The
people that are excluded from Olam Haba in the Mishnah.
Yeah, right? They're excluded up front. Right. Right. But that's okay. So that's limited amount of people. But we know that only the tzaddikim will go to Olam Haba, and not everybody will go. Everybody starts off with a share, but they could lose it or get a bigger share. Right? Where are you going to sit in Olam Haba? You could lose it. You have a share when you're born. If you're a bad person, you'll lose it. Which we say in the Shiur every day, right? That's the first entrance into Eretz Yisrael in the days of Yoshua. That's when they came in the days of Ezra. So they're related, right? There's a hekesh between the two. They could have come in by a miracle, just like they came in by a miracle by Yeshua when they crossed the Red Sea and miraculously lived in the Midbar for 40 years with the man and the water and everything. And they could have come in with a miracle here too in the second one. Ela Shagar Machek, because of the sins they caused them. You're right, this is also in this world, but still we could apply to the next world. Rabbi Yochanan also said, like Rabbah and like who was the first, Ula, said, Yesi, let the Mashiach come, I don't want to see him. I don't want to be here at the time. If it's because because things will be bad in the next world, like what? The example he gives from Amos, man runs away, a man runs away from a lion, and said he met a bear. He ran into a bear. He ran away from the bear. Comes to the house. Put his hand on the wall, and a snake bit him. In other words, because you can go from trouble to trouble in this world. You have the same thing in this world. He goes out to the field to Pagabo Santer. He meets the Santer, obviously is the same world as senator, right? But the Santer here, Rashi says, we had it before, is the surveyor who determines where your line is in your house and where the next guy's property is. And if you meet him, you're afraid that all of a sudden he's going to knock off a few yards or a few meters from your land. So you're not happy to meet him. It's like when the tax man calls, or the police show up. So he meets the Sander. Domo Kimishapagabari, it's as if he met a lion. He comes into the city, comes near his house, Gabai. He meets the tax collector. That's also not good. Domo Kimishapagabari, it's like he met the bear. Everybody comes to his house, and he finds his family in hunger. They are starving. Domo Kimishan as if a snake bit him. So you have that in this world too. You have it now also. What's your fear? What's your big fear that the Chav Mashiach that's going to happen? You have it now too. Go now see im Yoled Zocher. If a male gives birth, Madurisi kol gever yodavachas. Why do I see every man with his hands on his thighs as if to say kiyoleda, like in pain? What does that mean? V'nefchu kol panim yakum, and every face turns pale. What does all that mean? My risi kol gever. What does that mean? I saw all men giving birth. What does that mean? Amar Yitzchak Amar Rava bar Yitzchak Amar Rav Misha kol gvur shlo. We're talking about the Rebbe Shalom, the one who has all the power, the Almighty full. Umay v'nefchu kol panim yakum. Amar Yochanan Pamal yishamalav mashamata. Both the angels above and the humans down here. We're talking about everybody turning white. The Shosham HaKadosh Baruch Hu Halalu Shom HaKadosh Baruch Hu Halalu Maseh Elo Maseh Yodei Heich Eved Elu Bnei. Meaning, it's going to be a bad time. Why? Because when the Jews were bad, the Goyim when the Jews were bad, the Goyim rose up and ruled over everything. Now, when Hashem is going to bring Mashiach, the Jews will rise up again. But Hashem is saying, these are all my children. I made the Goyim also. Why? How am I going to, have these people win and the other people lose? They were all my children. So even though Hashem wants to bring us the Mashiach and bring good things, the Jews will rise up again. But it means the downfall of the Goyim. That's what people say, that Rav and Tura, you have an ox who's doing your work for you, and he fell down and got injured, and you use the horse in its trough. But then when the ox recovers, you want to use them. Now you got to put the horse back down. It's like, the coin gadol and the replacement coin, the coin that takes the place, right? That takes the place, the fill-in takes the place. Then when the coin gadol gets healthy again, or is purified again, comes back, but then the guy who was the coin gadol now has to step down. So he's still given certain cover. It's a tough thing. So that's what he means, that it's going to be a tough time, because Hashem is going to say, okay, I have to make the Jews rise again, but how am I going to do that? By putting the Goyim down. That's going to be the tough time that he's concerned about. They will have plentiful in the years of the Mashiach. Like we said before, said the other day, that in the 4th, 5th years, things will be plentiful. Who else is going to eat the fruits of that good time? Just like, fake names, like, who else is going to eat it if not the Jews? So there's no, but Rav Hillel, there's a excuse from Rav Hillel, the Omar, we're going to have him on the next daf. The Omar ain't Mashiach Yisrael. There'll be no Mashiach in the future. Hashem himself will redeem the people without a Mashiach. Shekvar achlu b'mechizkiah, because they already ate him up. Meaning he was already consumed. Mashiach already came in the time of Chizkiah. There'll be no Mashiach Lasulava. Now this Rav Hillel is a singular opinion. He's a minority opinion. Nobody else holds like him, as we'll see why he's also refuted on the next daf. Amarab, Lo Ibi Amel David. The world was only created for David, or for David's time. Shmuel Amar Moshe. The world was created for Moshe. Yochanan Amar Mashiach. Mashma, what's Mashiach's name? Debei Rav Shilo, and Rav Shilo said, Amrei Shilo Shmo. Little no game for David, right? But the Debei Rav Shilo says his name is Shilo Shneimar Ad Kiavo Shilo. We have a pasuk which talks about when Shilo will come. So Shilo's name is Mashiach. Debei Rav Yanai Amar Yinon Shmo. Again, notice that Shilo is like Sheila, and Yanai is like Yinon. Yinon, his name is Yinon Shneimar Yishmo LaOlam Lefnei Shemesh Yinon Shmo. Let his name be forever. In front of the sun, Yinon Shemo. Again, and maybe it's like wishful thinking. Similar name. Ve'ev Chanina Amri, Chanina Shmo. Again, in the yeshiva of Chanina, they said Chanina will be his name. Shenemar Asherlo Etein Lachem Chanina. Shall not give you Chanina, will not give you any grace, any favor. They show him Menachem and Chizkish. Someday his name was the Comforter, Menachem and Chizkish. Nemar Ki Rachok Mimenu Menachem. Meishmem is far from me. Now is Menachem, who will turn Meshiv Nafshi, who will return my soul. Rabban Rami, the rabbi said, Chivra Debei Rebbe. He's the leper in the house of Rebbe, or in the yeshiva of Rebbe, in the yeshiva of Rebbe, right? Chivra Debei Rebbe Shmo Shenemar Achein Chalinu. We became sick. We were afflicted. Who knows? Say Chalinu. Who knows? Rather, our sickness he bore, and he suffered our pains. We thought of him as Nagua Mukalim. We thought him as a leper, as a person who was plagued, smitten by God, and afflicted. We thought of him that way, but he was the Mashiach. So again, different opinions. What his name was, when he will come, how he will come, we don't really know. Amar Nachman, Iman Chayu, if he can compare him to somebody who's living today, Kagon Ana is like me, Shenemar Vahoya Adiro Mimenu, because the prince will come from us, meaning it will be like one of us. So Rav Nachman said, if he can compare him to somebody who's alive today, it could be like me. Moshe Bekibro, his ruler will come, Mikibro Yetzer will come out from its midst, meaning it doesn't have to be anybody special. It could be even Rav Nachman said it modestly, even somebody like me. Amarav, Iman Chayu could go to Menakadosh. Rav said, if he is compared to somebody who's alive today, it would be like Rabbeinu, like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. If it's from the dead, who could go in Daniel, Ish Chamudas is like Daniel, who was beloved. Doesn't mean to say that he is going to be resurrected when he comes. It means to say that if he is from somebody, if you want to compare him to somebody who's no longer alive, compare him to Daniel. Yes, but the shot over here is that doesn't mean to say that he's going to be revived, that he's Daniel. It just means somebody, want to compare him to somebody who's no longer alive, compare him to Daniel. There'll be another David, a different David. They will serve God based on Malcolm, Asher Okum, that I will cause to rise. I will establish him, I will establish him Lehem. Hakim doesn't say that I caused him, that I established him before, which is in the past when David Melech was alive. Elokim, I will renew, I'll bring up a new David. David Avdi Nasilehem, David my servant, the David Amelech will be Nasilehem Laolam. He will be their prince forever. So the Gemara's answer is Kagon Keser, Palka Keser, like the king and the viceroy, the king and the vice president and the vice president. Meaning the new, if there's something like Malcolm, David Malcolm Asher Okim, the pasuk talks about a future David. He will be the king, Melech, and David Avdi will be the Nasi. That's like one step below, but like the vice president. Darsh Rav Shimlai, the pasuk says, Hoi hamisavim el yom Hashem, es yom Hashem. Woe unto those who desire the day of God. Lamos elachem yom Hashem. Why do you want that? Yom Hashem. Hu choshech v'lo or. It's a day of darkness and not light. What do we mean by that? Mashal Tanagol. It's an example with a rooster and a bat. Of course, the bat is blind, doesn't have eyes, can't see. They were waiting for the morning. They were waiting for the light to come out in the morning. Amalei waiting for Neitzachama. Amalei Tanagol. I'll tell you, the Tanagol said to the bat, I have light, I have eyes, I can see. That's why I'm waiting daytime. What's the difference to you? You can't see anyway. Behind the Amalei, this fits in with what an heretic said to Lurbavu. When is Mashiach? When do you think Mashiach is coming? When darkness will cover over those men. He was sort of hinting people like you. You're cursing me. The heretic said to Abavu, you're cursing me, calling me. There'll be darkness over me. Crux. Pardon?
Saying if the shoe fits.
The shoe fits, right. Amalei crux. The pasuk says, "Kihine hachoshech yichas eretz." The darkness will cover the earth. Va'rafel leumim, and the fog, the thick clouds will cover over the nations. Va'alayech yizrach Hashem, and on you, the Jews, Hashem will shine. V'kvodo alecha yira, and His honor will see upon you. I'm just quoting the pasuk. The people who follow Hashem, they will have the light, and that's what He means here too. When the pasuk says, woe unto those who have Hashem, Lam Zachem, it's a day of darkness, because there will be darkness for the bad people, and for the good Jews, there will be light. How many years will it take? Now we said the Yemos Hashiach we said before the other day was from 4,000 till 6,000. So that's 2,000 years, right? But he says it's 40 years. Different opinions as we'll see. Yemos Mashiach Abam Shana Shneimar, Abam Shana Kupador. I will take the nation for 40 years. Now, this generation for 40 years. The Pashup shot, of course, is going on the Midbar, and the people in the Midbar, I'm Shana Kupador, but it's Akut, like I will take them in generation, meaning in the future. The Blazman Azar Yom Shim Shana 70 years Shenemar, V'hoya Bayomahu, on that day, V'nishkachas Sur, the city of Sur will be forgotten, Shim Shana, Ki Mei Melech Echad, like the days of one king. Who would be Melech Echad? Presumably David HaMelech, right? They lived 70 years. Ezo Melech Miyuchad Aviomer is Mashiach. So he says now it's not David, it's Mashiach ben David, right? Ezo Melech Miyuchad Aviomer is Mashiach. So that refers to, when he says that's going to be 70 years, that the days of Mashiach will be 70 years. So what does that mean? He's going to be around for 70 years, he's going to be around for 40 years. Yemos Mashiach, we're already in Yemos Mashiach. Maybe Mashiach is here. Rabbi Omer, over the years, many people have said, that this Rav, this great rabbi, this tzaddik was roy to be Mashiach, but the generation did not merit it. Rabbi Yom Shlosha Doros, it'll be for 3 generations. Shneimar, Yerochem Shemesh, they will fear you with the sun, Blefnei Rechem, for the moon, Dor Dorim, 1 door is generation, Dorim is 2. 1 and 2 is 3. Reb Hillel Omer, this is the sheet that we brought them for. Ein lahem Mashiach l'Yisrael. There will be no Mashiach in the future. Shekvar achlu b'mei Chizkiyahu. They already consumed him, meaning he already took place before. Rav Yosef Shara le'mar Rav Hillel. May Hashem forgive Rav Hillel, because what he said doesn't make sense. Why? Because he says it was already consumed in the days of Chizkiah. Chizkiah, when was Chizkiah around? The bias reaching the time of the first bias. The Ilu Zachariah, Rashi says this is Zachariah ben Barachia, not the other Zachariah that was in the first base. Zachariah ben Barachia, he was prophesying in the second bias for Omar, Gili Ma'od Bas Sion, rejoice Bas Sion, Hari Bas Yerushalayim, shout out Bas Yerushalayim, Hine Makach Yavo, Lachat Tzadik B'Nosha, who Ani Barocha Balachamor. He was rejoice B'nai Yisrael, because your king is coming. Tzaddik, he's righteous, B'Nosha, when he will say a savior. Ani, he's poor, Barocha Balachamor, riding on a donkey, Bal Ayer ben Asonos, or on a foal, a young donkey, ben Asonos, the son of a female donkey. So what do you see over here? That Zechariah was after Chizkiah. How can you say he already took place in the days of Chizkiah? Zechariah came afterwards, and he was talking about the future. So the pasuk in Zechariah refutes Rav Hillel's opinion. Tani Idach Rav Elazar Ami Yamas Mashiach Arbam Shana. It's 40 years. And I afflicted you and I starved you, and then I gave you the man. Make us rejoice like the days in which we afflicted us. How long did he afflict us in the Midbar? How long was that? 40 years. So that's another proof that Mashiach will be 40 years. Rav Dos Omer, Dal Meir Shapiro, 400 years. And you will serve the Egyptians. They will be afflicted for 400 years. So when he says Vayanchav, it says which of the years of affliction, the 40 years in the Midbar or the 400 years of Mitzrayim? Rabbi Yomi Gimel Meos V'Shishim Chameshana, 365 years. Like the days of the solar year, 365 days. This is 365 years. Why isn't it a year? Why is it years? Shema says Kiyom Nakam Belibi. It will day of revengeance in my heart. V'shana ushnas geule, and the year of my redemption. Ba my yom nakam belibi. What does it mean? One day of revenge. I revealed it in my heart, but in my heart it's revealed, but I didn't tell my limbs. Hashem, so to speak, says I didn't reveal it. I didn't tell the Malach Hasharis. But the point over here is, you see, he says it's a day. Kiyom nakam belibi v'shnas geuli. In other words, it's like the year is based on the number of days. There's days in a year is 365, and this will be 365 years of Yom Mashiach. All right, picking up tomorrow, Mr. Shem, from Tani Avime, the second of the wide lines. Have a good day, everybody. Culture.